Hello, everybody. I hope you've all had a wonderful work week. So, are you using AI for advertising yet? I mean, the answer is probably yes, whether you realize it or not, as Google has been using AI to power the assembly of search advertising for a bit now. But what I mean is, are you using generative AI to create content for advertising at scale? According to a new news article on Reuters, well, some of the biggest advertisers in the world are using generative AI to cut costs, increase productivity, and maybe even cut some staff. But is that a good thing? Is that the right thing? And what's really going on here? Where is the real value getting created? Do we really need more automation in our paid media campaigns? Let's talk about it. This is 5 minutes, all right, maybe 5 or 6 this week, of what you need to lead in marketing. Let's roll. Hello, everybody. Robert Rose here with the content and marketing strategy news. It is what's new, but more importantly, it's what's important in our world of marketing. And for the best and best practices, you can always head on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com. So automation and forms of artificial intelligence and algorithms in advertising, well, it's been around for a long time now. I mean, almost 10 years ago, one of my marketing heroes, Julie Fleischer, she talked about how she used content marketing while she was at Kraft to track more than 22,000 attributes of the more than 100 million annual visitors to their websites. And she used that to automatically, create millions of dynamically, algorithmically assembled advertisements to target to individual people. But now in 2023, we're talking about generative AI and how big advertisers are using, as they say, to cut cost and time out of the process. But what are they really doing? What's the real value? I mean, is this just a gimmick? Or is this something that will replace, as the ad headline says, the mad men and mad women in lieu of generative artificial intelligence? Well, this article, published last week and picked up by a few other news organizations such as The Verge, discusses how despite the wariness of security and copyright risks, many of the world's biggest advertisers are utilizing generative AI to create content for much more successful advertising campaigns. Call me a little bit of a skeptic here, and the fact that the two examples that this article uses in particular, they're 2 years old, and so might be a bit out of date. But still, I think the two examples really do highlight the actual value that is getting created here, maybe not the perceived value of reduced human involvement that we sometimes associate with that. The article highlights two campaigns, both from WPP, by the way, and using generative AI in very different ways. The first, a campaign done in India with the brand Mondelez and through Cadbury, which was a campaign featuring Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan. The star is arguably the biggest actor in the world with hundreds of millions of fans. And what Mondelez did was to feature the star using AI-generated voice and face technology to feature the star asking people to shop at local stores by name. Small businesses could then use a microsite to generate a script, if you will, where their name of their store and the call to action could actually be inserted in for Shah Rukh Khan to actually talk about. The video could then be posted on social media platforms of the individual stores, giving them much more reach. Some 130,000 ads were created featuring 2,000 stores. Yeah, that's cute. I mean, a little risky, I have to say, but I'll come back to that in a minute. But of course, this is something we think about today, right? When we're using ChatGPT or DALL-E to do basically what Julie did with Kraft 10 years ago. Iterate thousands of versions of the ad at scale and on demand. That saves a ton of money in the production of creative in ads to deliver them at that scale. Other examples of this might be the images that were automatically created by users in the Coca-Cola campaign that ran just a few months ago, and they had some success with that. Now, the second example from the article is another WPP campaign, and this time it was a newsjacking campaign for Nestle's Laitière or Milkmaid yogurt and dairy brand. Well, basically the Dutch Rijksmuseum, they went viral when they showed X-rays showing hidden objects hidden behind the Vermeer oil painting, the famous one, the Milkmaid. Now, WPP then quickly used DALL-E 2 to generate what they called imagined scenes that went way beyond the borders of the classic Milkmaid painting. And they revealed all new art as a result of that. They generated almost 1,000 different iterations and succeeded in creating, as they said, around 700,000 euros of quote-unquote media value. That's always a fun one to sort of look at in advertising, media value. Anyway, The story was really about how much cost and time they saved, human cost, human time, in not having to have humans create all that imagery. Another much more recent version of this campaign was highlighted by HubSpot, where they showed how they used AI to design ads for subscriber growth to their Hustle newsletter. Now, reportedly there, the campaign reduced the cost of acquisition of subscribers by 300%. But to be clear, it wasn't the media or the actual acquisition conversion rates. It was actually the cost of designing the imagery that they used to make up that cost reduction. So, what's my take on all of this? Well, my take is that while these and other ad campaigns that are getting generated by AI are very interesting experiments, we should, to paraphrase one of my favorite shows, Friday Night Lights, have clear eyes and full hearts about what it is we're actually really doing here. What's the real value getting generated? So our latest CMI research on content practitioners and their attitudes toward AI show that we're very worried about generative AI and how it will devalue their skills. The top two responses on what worried marketers was less respect for skilled writers and writing/editing being viewed as a commodity. But what's important to understand here is that so far anyway, none of these examples of the AI-generated ads that we just talked about have done that. They haven't really replaced the creative writing or the creative ideas being generated by those marketers. All of them, including the HubSpot campaign, needed a human idea behind the expression of that content and another human idea to edit it into shape and another human to focus on the creative production of what it would look like. The technology was only used to scale, almost like a Xerox machine, the expression of that content, not the generation or the creativeness of the idea. That's what great marketing creators have always brought to the table. And that goes for pre-AI, pre-Photoshop, pre-digital cameras, pre-desktop publishing, pre-layout, pre-Xerox machine. Put really simply, the Mondelez campaign was entirely created by humans. The idea, the thoughtfulness of the campaign, the creativity of getting Shah Rukh Khan involved, it was only the scale of personalizing the expression of all those ads that made it AI-driven at all. Creating the strategic idea, that's the marketing creator's job. By the way, just with that ad in particular, that campaign worries me greatly. I mean, letting a huge movie star basically provide testimonial for any local business that puts in the fill in the blank, I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Anyway, that's a side note. But also the Milkmaid campaign, well, that's exactly the same, right? A human thought up the idea, figured out how it might flow in a video, and I would guess, though I'm not exactly sure, actually edited the final piece that made up the ad itself. All the AI did was to generate thousands of iterations beyond the border of the look of those images. But somebody made a decision about which ones worked the best and edited them down, and that's the marketing creative's job. And HubSpot? Well, HubSpot, same thing. They may have created a 300% discount on the cost of that campaign, but a human conceived it, a human approved it, and AI automatically created all the images from it. So we have to realize that as content creators, as marketing practitioners, and creative artists, that while expressing our ideas in multiple iterations can be and will be fully commoditized by technology, actually having the ideas and putting them together contextually in a way that really works for that moment is something that, well, I'm just going to argue for the moment anyway, is only something we can do. One of my favorite Mad Men was a guy by the name of Howard Gossage, and one thing he said about advertising was, nobody reads advertising. People read what interests them, and sometimes we hope it's an ad. So our job, use the tools, get good at the tools, and evolve ourselves into the tools so that the right way to use them is to better express at scale our interesting things. Sometimes that'll be an ad. What do you think? Is your AI a better copywriter than you or your team, or you using AI to simply scale up the expression of your great ideas? Let me know. But until then, remember, it is your story to tell. You can sometimes use AI to tell it better. Let's see, and I'll see you next week.